I lied down to receive the healing work, and within minutes, my mind went into another brainwave pattern. I started seeing all these images and visuals. It was so beautiful. Reiki just opened the door to the unseen, to the potential of what we really are.
In order to hold more of our light, we also need to be able to work with our shadows.
If you want to be a wonderful light worker, but you're repressing your own shadows and not willing to look at it, how are you going to love someone else who has to face their own shadows and guide them? It's an opportunity. We look at these uncomfortable experiences as though they're a burden, but they're actually there to teach us something about how we want to grow.
Michelle, welcome to the Ascended Lightworkers podcast. It's great to have you here with us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Alina. I'm totally excited to be here and share this time and space with you.
Perfect. So, Michelle, you are an intuitive healer and a Reiki master teacher, and you offer life-changing experiences by using a blend of Reiki, intuitive energy healing, Theta healing, intuitive readings, and shamanic practices, and spiritual-based guidance and coaching. So, let's start by getting to know you. Tell us about your journey and what were some key moments that shaped your path.
Well, for me, it all started in my early 20s when I was going to university, and I actually came down with a really severe anxiety disorder. What felt like at the time that it came out of the blue, but of course, I realized later it wasn't out of the blue. So I came down with a panic disorder and agoraphobia. And basically, it forced me to, well, make a decision. I could either continue living my life in this space that I really did not want to be in and never really fully experience things, or I could start exploring, going inward. And that's what I did. But that part of my journey, it wasn't energy-based healing, at least not, that wasn't the focus. The focus was more about cognitive therapy and cognitive techniques, and also that going inward and exploring why have these fears come up in the first place. It was around a 2-year journey, a lot of discipline and a lot of dedication. But basically, the cognitive work helped me learn that the way that I think has a direct effect on the way that I feel. And so I learned all these techniques to basically rewire my mindset the way I was thinking. But it's not just mindset, it's like looking at why are you thinking that way and exploring a bit deeper. And it slowly started to shift over time. And then I ended up traveling and moving to the UK to teach. I ended up really exploring my world. And as I was in that process, Reiki came into my life, and I didn't actually go out seeking it. It literally just landed in my lap. And I was actually very skeptical about it because it was something you couldn't really see or feel. And I thought it was a little bit, what some people call woo woo. However, I was open to give it a try because it was through someone I knew, and she just wanted to do a session on me. And so I lied down to receive the healing work, and within minutes, I just went into this really deeply meditative state. I was so calm and relaxed. I felt so lovely. And then my mind went into another brainwave pattern, really into that alpha state, because I started seeing all these images and visuals, and it was so beautiful. Everything about that experience was so beautiful that by the time she was done, I was like, what was that? I need to find out more about this. And so I basically signed up for my first class very soon after, because I was so curious, and that was the thing about Reiki. Reiki just opened the door to the unseen, to the energy, to the but the main thing, to the potential of what we really are.
Nice. And how life changed for you since you opened the door of Reiki, energy healing, and spirituality?
Oh, I mean, I've been around for a while, so I don't even know where to begin on how it changed. But it changed a lot. It changed my perspective. It changed my openness to receiving information and bringing new people into my world, and new places and new learning and new growth. And in working with that energy, it basically expanded my intuition a lot. So I started to really, it's a process, it takes time, but it's something that really developed. And then that intuitive development started really adding to the sessions and working with people.
And how those healing practices, Reiki, help you navigate your day and your life?
Okay. Well, one of the first things I like to do when I wake up in the morning is to create my day. So set my intentions for the day. Um, Sometimes, if I have time, I'll give myself some Reiki energy if I feel that I need it, or go into a theta space and ask for certain downloads and certain wisdom, or I can use it to manifest things I want to create. Um, it basically helps me stay aligned with my purpose, with my goals, but even more so, it also is a tool that when I'm not feeling well, that I can use to feel more balanced. And it's also a tool where I can explore what are the underlying reasons as to why I might not be feeling well. So it's not like every single day I wake up and I set my intentions and create my day and da da da, because we're human and we all have our ups and downs. And you might do that. I mean, I actually did do that full on for a very long time. But the thing is, in my experience, I would be setting certain intentions through affirmations, and I could do it over and over, and some of them would come through. But sometimes I would just hit a block with some, and I couldn't understand why, because I was doing all the things I was being shown to do. And then that's where I came in upon more of this deeper shadow work. So looking at these parts of me, connecting with these parts of me that actually were blocking and hindering being able to step into those realities I wanted. And so through the shadow work, it's an exploration of the self, and tuning in and tapping into that and understanding why those feelings are there. Why? Because if we push certain feelings and certain experiences aside, and we're focusing on I'm this, but you're not that, because you've just sort of tucked it under the rug. So it's this blend of doing things to lift my energy, to bring things into my world, but also knowing when I need to step back and just connect in with my body, connect in with my inner child, connect in with myself, and explore that before again moving forward in a new way. So it's it's a journey with its ebbs and flows and the currents of life, but it helps me because it gives me understanding about who I am, who we really are. It helps me as I go through the things I go through when I have a client that I work with. It helps me understand them, have compassion for them and what they're going through. I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And you give me a good pass. So we are ascended light workers and we talk about light work, but of course, in the healing journey, it requires also the other side, like shadow work. How would you define those two, light work and shadow work?
So, light work is raising one's consciousness. It's raising one's consciousness to understand the potentiality of what we are, and working with modalities that help elevate that energy and that consciousness so that you can, be that super conscious mind, right? And shadow work is more about exploring the hidden or repressed aspects of ourself, so that we can give them a space at our table and heal them by doing that. And of course, it's a little bit more complicated, but shadow work is ultimately looking at those repressed and suppressed parts of ourselves. And to me, true healing is that combination, like what you're saying. It's that combination. Often for me, the way I work is I tune into the light, and from the space of the light, the shadow can safely come up because the shadow knows it's being held in a safe space. And so it can be explored in this way. And so it's not that one is better than the other. They need each other for, well, not that they need each other, but it's all part of us.
So we're born into this world. Where does the shadow come from? Is it innate in us? Do we inherit it? Do we pick it up through our life?
That's really an interesting question. I love that question. My interpretation of the shadow is that it exists in our subconscious mind, and the subconscious, it's not that the subconscious is the shadow. The subconscious has just a whole lot of wisdom about everything, right? And in my experience, shadow can be things we've experienced as children. So the inner child and the unhealed inner child. But it can also be things we've taken on from our ancestors that are genetically in our DNA. It can be things that we haven't resolved from a past life, or even things we've taken on from society and the history of society, and that somehow are within our psyche and consciousness.
For someone who wants to do the inner work and start their healing journey, do you think it's necessary for them to look into that, their early life, their past lives, and deeper layers like the subconscious?
Well, I can only say that in my experience, it's been necessary. I can say that with the clients that I've worked with, the ones that I've seen really achieve big shifts and changes are the ones who have been more willing to go there.
So a lot of people might refuse to even recognize that they might have a darker side because maybe there is a lot of shame or fear, or they think that if they admit they have a darker side, it means that they're bad people, for example. What is the mindset that we should have when we're getting into this type of shadow work, inner work during the healing process?
Just being open is the first and foremost thing, and also making sure that if you're working with someone, that you're working with someone that you trust and that you feel safe with. So it is the job of the healing facilitator to create that sense of safety and that safe space, so that, because if it was so easy to go and explore our shadow, we would have already done it. So choosing someone to work with who you trust is very helpful, because if you feel safe around someone, no matter their approach or how they work with, but if you feel safe working with them, then it's going to be easier for that to come up for healing.
In order to hold more of our light, we also need to be able to work with our shadows. Why is working with these, shadow trauma, limitations, wherever they come from, necessary for us to be able to reveal more of our light sides?
Yeah, that's a really great question too. So when I think back to when I started my healing journey with energy work, with Reiki, and with super conscious work, where I was focusing on bringing all of these things into my world and stating my affirmations and doing it from a super conscious space, and that all exists, and then you come back down into your body and you have to engage in the world. And if you haven't embraced your shadows, then that light won't be able to go to those places, right? I do believe that it's wholly possible for some people who are very advanced to not have to go and explore every single trauma that they've been through. This is not about that. But I think it's important to remember that we're human beings. And I remember in the past my own resistance, as well as observing other people, that no, I do light work, you just have to do this, you just have to focus on this and bring it, but you know yourself, if you do this work, sometimes it unfolds and sometimes it manifests and sometimes it doesn't, because there's something we have to learn. We're here to be human, right? First, and
Definitely.
we need to let ourselves be human. And when you if you want to be a wonderful light worker, but if you're repressing your own shadows and not willing to look at it, um, because you carry this fear or shame or whatever, how are you going to love someone else who has to face their own shadows and help them and guide them? When you delve in deep and can love all aspects of you, the good, the bad, and the beautiful, and the quote unquote ugly, you can do that in others as well. And if we are truly all one and all connected, it's very important to not separate ourselves and say these people are, and judge them. We need to see how we're all connected.
Beautiful. So, what should be the right balance between light work and shadow work?
Well, what comes to mind for me is something that I currently have been doing a lot of work with, and that's working with the elements. So, earth, air, fire, and water, and spirit. And your earth element is your foundations, your stability, your security, and it's basically our inner child when our foundations in our life were being set up. And then you have your air element, which is all the mind, the intellect, the creativity, getting our ideas out into the world, right? Communicating them. Then you have the water, which is the emotion and the intuition, being able to allow ourselves to feel all emotions and go with the currents of life, and to hold the space for others to have that. And yet also knowing where we begin and another, where we end and another begins, right? And then you have your fire, which is taking action, taking charge, making things happen. And then you have spirit, which sort of connects all of this. And so, in understanding where you're at in those various elements, you can see, okay, I need to maybe bring in a little bit of more of this energy into my world. And okay, I'm balanced here in this element, but maybe I don't have so much balance in this way in this element. Let me give an example just to illustrate it a bit more. Let's say you are unhappy with your job and you really want to have a different job, but you don't have the drive, you don't have the motivation, you don't have the inspiration to leave it and take a leap to do something else, or you don't have the motivation to keep doing that job and start something else on the side until you're able to leave the job you don't like and pursue your business or whatever you're doing on the side. So that to me would be indicative of having a lower or imbalanced earth element, that foundation. There's something happening there in that foundation, because work is finances, it's security. And that would be an indication to explore some of that inner child work around that. And then when you do that, it's much easier to pull on your fire energy. It's much easier to work with your air energy, you know.
Yeah, so you need foundation, strong foundation to be able to take the risks and go for what you truly want.
Yeah, and it's an opportunity. Sometimes we we all do this. So we look at these uncomfortable experiences in our world as though they're a burden, but they're actually there to teach us something about how we want to grow.
So, one of the objectives of doing shadow work is to have healing. How would you define healing, or what does it look like for you?
To me, healing is connection. To me, healing is exploring your shadows. If you're exploring a trauma from childhood, if you're exploring an emotion like anger and you don't know where it's coming from, if you're exploring anything you don't feel comfortable with, even a pain in your body. Well, part of the process of healing is to make that shadow conscious by shining light in the shadow. And then through that, you have the opportunity to understand why that feeling or is there in the first place. And then from there, you have an opportunity to bring in other perspectives from the other people maybe that were involved at that time that you couldn't do at the time when the trauma occurred, right? And so when you do that, it's it feels done. It feels complete. You don't need to energetically keep bringing those situations into your world because you've learned the lesson, or you've completed the experience. Let's say it doesn't have to be a lesson. Just let's say you've completed that experience. And then your energy is, you basically make space in your body, in your mind, in your energy to bring in new experiences. And I can give an example if you'd like.
Definitely.
Okay, so recently there was a lady that I was working with, and we were doing a combination of Reiki and Theta Healing. But this particular day, we were doing a Reiki session, and she came in wanting to heal her romantic issues. She was having some struggles romantically, and she wanted to work on that. And she was very clear on her intention. And as I was doing the Reiki session with her, what started coming up for me intuitively was her father. And then what ended up happening was we explored this whole experience she had in her childhood connected with her father, who is now passed away. And it was a deeply healing process for her because, well, she had tucked it under the rug. She wasn't ready to look at it until then, and that's okay, right? There's no timeline, there's no competition here. It'll all come exactly when it's meant to for us, when we're ready for it. That's important to remember, that when you're receiving healing, nothing's going to come up you're not ready for, right? But anyways, after the session, I suggested to her that she also sets up an altar somewhere at home and put some pictures of her dad and a candle, which she did. She totally took action. And she basically had a huge release. The next day, she didn't even know where he had been buried. And the next day, she went online and she found it in an instant. And the day after, she was there visiting the cemetery, and she and had a friend who traveled from some other part of the country. Like, she had all this support around her. It was just supportive and guiding. And she, after that, she felt a huge connection with him in a way that she hadn't for, I don't know since when. And she also started clearing out the guys in her world that were not giving her the emotional joy of being in a relationship with someone.
I think these kind of stories are what make this world so powerful, and they are so internal and esoteric and personal to people. And sometimes we don't realize that, yeah, sometimes our not problems, but okay, what we're struggling with often maybe comes from our relationship with our father, from our relationship with our mother. And we don't look at that, right? Our childhood, it's like very hidden. But then for someone who opens up to this world, to go back, review, and actually heal and restore and forgive and let go these relationships, then you can, as you say, release so much energy from this, and then immediately improve the relationship with men, women, with yourself, and sometimes even with your actual parents. So sometimes you do the deep work, and then from one day to another, you had like not like really hard relationship with your father, and then it just becomes a completely new relationship.
Absolutely.
And I think that's so powerful and so important for uh, people's lives also to know that this is possible,
Yeah.
and that because like if you had like some hard experiences in the past, it doesn't mean that it has to keep being like that forever, and that by doing this work it can actually transform and see things that you never thought would be possible.
Yeah.
So you are a Reiki master teacher and also an intuitive energy healer. So for people who are not familiar with it, what is Reiki?
What is Reiki? Reiki is a Japanese word that translated directly means universally or spiritually guided life force energy. And the Reiki Ray is just that. It's a higher vibrational healing energy that is guided by the divine. And you can receive Reiki in various ways. You can have an in-person Reiki session. And in that case, somebody would be lying down on a massage table Usually, I mean, you could do it at a chair too, but a full session, you'd be on a massage table, and there's a set hand positions that are connected to your energetic centers, your chakras. So, like, for example, here and here and here, and so on down the body. It can be hands on or it can be hands above. And it's the channeling of this universal life force energy for balance. Basically, it assists your body in creating its own. The body knows, it has its own wisdom, it knows how to have balance, but Reiki will place you in the alpha state, in the alpha brainwave frequency, which is the state that you're in when you are just about to fall asleep, or when you've just woken up, or when you're in a meditation. It's actually been scientifically proven that the brainwave patterns of both the Reiki practitioner and the receiver of Reiki go into that state. Um, and so it's extremely relaxing and nourishing. I like to think of it as, if you know what a massage feels like and how relaxing it is, but it's sort of like, instead of from the outside in, it's from the inside out, and it just helps reset things. So typically people feel really calm and relaxed after a session, but there's many other benefits that can come. And you can also do Reiki at a distance because it's energy based healing work. So it's not limited by physicality. And I know that sometimes that can be a hard concept to understand. Even when I started doing Reiki, I had skepticism about that, but have found over time that Reiki sessions at a distance are equally as effective as those in person. So when you do it at a distance, it's done a little bit differently. The person you arrange a time, and the person is relaxing at home or maybe even sleeping, but you don't want to do it at a time where you're busy and doing things, right? And it's all done through energy and intention. A Reiki practitioner knows how to do a distance healing session. And then with my clients, because I like to integrate that intuitive aspect and the messages that come through, and integrate any possible shadow work that can be done. Basically make the healing session conscious, because when I'm doing a distance session, I get messages the whole time and I'm being shown things the whole time. So then I like to meet with the client after and have a one-on-one integration and guidance call based on what came up. And that's also that's an opportunity to understand and receive an energy reading, but also to explore what comes up and ask questions and really make the healing process conscious.
Can you walk us through a session, especially a remote one? How would it look, and how does the client or the person who receives the energy, what do they feel exactly? What are the sensations? How do they experience it from their side?
Some people won't feel anything from their side. And some people will feel tingling sensations or energy moving or heat, or they just might feel really relaxed while it's happening. But within that day or within the next 3 days, you will notice a change in your body, in your mental state. You'll feel more calm, you'll feel more relaxed. You might feel that things have completely shifted. You might feel that just more calm and relaxed. And then maybe you need to do some more sessions to dig in a little bit more deeply at what the issue is. That's the most common thing that people say, is that they feel more relaxed and calm after a Reiki session. And then coupled with the insight and what you do with that insight, um, or even just taking it in, um, the changes can really vary. One of the first distance Reiki sessions that I did was when I moved from Canada to Croatia. And one of my old clients from Canada, she had actually moved to Ireland. And she she called on me to see if I could do some healing work for her son, who was a little boy at the time. And I did the distance healing. And the next day, she messaged me and told me that that morning her little boy had woken up fully himself, more himself, that, happy go lucky like a kid than he had been in weeks. And he's a child, right? So this is a kind of change that he experienced. But that can happen. But with healing work, sometimes you need more than one session for that. Sometimes it happens right away the next day. Sometimes it's integrated over time.
And what happens in the body or the energy field of someone who receives this energy?
Yeah. So first of all, whatever is ready to be released, any energetic stagnancy, blocks, fluffiness, all of that is released. And then a lot of light energy is brought in, and that will balance the chakras and balance that life force energy throughout the body. So another common thing that people experience actually after having Reiki, apart from feeling calm and relaxed and more centered, is clarity of mind. Yeah, that's actually a big one as well. Yeah.
And who does the healing? Is it the healer who does the healing or the person who receives the healing?
It's always the person who's receiving the healing. Yeah. It's a it's you and whatever your divine is. And the healing facilitator is facilitating that space. But it's you. You'll never have something come up for healing that you're not ready for. Yeah? And that's really important to know. And I think it's really important to also be patient with ourselves. Sometimes we want to have a specific result, but if we remember that we have only one perspective and there's so many perspectives out there, and that the divine in us, that more powerful aspect of us, knows what we need, and to have the patience to really be present with our experiences and learn, what is this teaching me right now? Yeah.
Hmm.
So when if somebody's starting out with healing work, I I always like to, just like if you go to a chiropractor or a massage therapist, they'll invite you to come back. They'll invite you to do it once a week for a while until you start to really shift things. So it's the same thing with energy work. You can have one session and you'll feel better, you'll feel nicer typically. But that's why I like to offer some packages so that people can try doing it once a week for a month or 6 weeks, and then, do a session a month just to kind of keep things flowing. But I find even I still like to every once in a while have, a period of time in a year where I can have some more sessions for a month or two, because there's something I'm working on, something I'd like some support with. And then you don't need to keep doing it all the time, but we go through these phases. But having it once a week over time, the sessions and the energy really gets to build upon itself. And you can do so much more and receive so much more benefit in the long run if you explore more, engage in it more.
What it can help with, like what kind of challenges or maybe goals that people might have, and that this type of energy work can help them with.
It's a great question too. You have so many good questions. It can help with motivation. It can help with relationship challenges. It can help with just feeling generally stuck in any kind of pattern in life. It can help with anxiety. It can help with unhappiness. It can also help with physical pain. Um, because it's holistic. If there's any area of your life that you feel unhappy, unmotivated about, stuck in any way, it can help. And you can usually know after one session if it's something that you resonate with or not. Yeah.
Can it also help Reiki or energy healing in general with physical complaints, like health complaints, in these more holistic aspects?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, our body, our body holds incredible wisdom, and quite often our pain, if not always, our pain and our physical discomfort is communication from the body to say, hey, there's something I want you to pay attention to. There's something I want you to understand about us. um, so you can definitely heal physical pain through both Reiki and Theta healing, through any kind of intuitive energy work. Absolutely. And so the key there is also you can do just straight Reiki, and over time you'll notice that pain will go away because you're naturally expanding your consciousness as you're working with that energy and being in it. And that's one of the reasons that, well, not one of the reasons, but that's something that I use to my advantage. As soon as you learn Reiki, even with just level 1, if you have a headache, you can apply Reiki on it and it helps. If you have a stomach ache or somebody or you have children, you can apply Reiki and it helps. It's always better if you can catch it before it gets really bad. It's easier to shift it before you get into a more rigid pattern with it. But even then, with time and persistence, and it will shift. It's I find that physical pain, it's that can turn into somatic work, which is also to me that shadow, right? So the somatic work can show us what feeling is that pain wanting to show us about ourselves. And but then sometimes it doesn't have to always be that deep. I mean, I remember when I was teaching, I'm also an elementary school teacher by training, and I did it for many years. I was teaching in Canada, and my vice principal wanted a Reiki session with me. And I was actually a bit nervous about it because she was an administrator. And anyways, she came for a session. And the next morning, she came into my classroom and she said, "You're a witch."
Oh my god.
Where's this going, right? And she said, my back pain's completely gone. And it wasn't any like super deep shadow work that we were doing in that session. It was just applying the Reiki energy and just talking through a few things that came up. So, yeah.
You mentioned Reiki and Theta Healing. What is the difference between those two modalities?
Yeah. So Reiki is about connecting with the source of Reiki energy and then channeling that energy through you for the purpose of balance, healing, transformation, change. All the extra additions like the intuitive work, the shadow work and all that. That's my version of Reiki, but simply put, Reiki is the channeling of divine healing energy. Okay. And theta healing is about going into a theta space by connecting with the energy of the creator of all that is and going into the theta frequency. And then it's like you're having a dialogue between the creator, you, and the client. And always following the creators. This is very intuitive healing. So you're waiting to hear as a facilitator. I'm listening to what the creator's showing me, telling the client. And usually what I find is then that shows something to the client, triggers something in the client, and we end up having a conversation, exploring what it is that needs to be explored. Typically, with theta healing, we want to dig for an underlying belief, ideally a core belief that might be causing the whatever blocks you're experiencing in your life. And it could be on different levels of your being. It can be from your conscious mind, from something you experienced in this life. It can be from a past life. It can be from our, ancestors. It can be from society at large. But we want to explore what is the core belief behind what is troubling you right now, and it's this conversation, this dialogue with the creator, you and I, exploring this. And then when you come to a core belief, it's not about just clearing that belief right away. It's also about having that journey of understanding, well, what are the benefits that you've been having from carrying this belief? How has it, even though we feel like it's not been serving us, in some way, it's still been serving us. Otherwise, it wouldn't be here in our life. And it's just exploring that whole situation and that whole belief really deeply until you get a sense of perspective, understanding, and a natural sense of closure and resolution. When that's all ready, then we remove the belief, we resolve it and remove it, and then we can bring in a new program, one that's more in alignment with where you want to be. And not only do we bring in a new program, but you can also download that you know what it feels like to live your life in that way, which is really important because sometimes maybe you don't know what it feels like. So we want to download that, and we can do lots of really wonderful downloads. Any of those affirmations you have, we can like that, but always connected with the purpose of that healing. And sometimes you don't even have to do digging. You can get a lot out of just downloading a lot of feelings and knowing the creator's perspective on things. You can get a lot out of just that. But typically, in a session, you would do digging work, get at that core belief, understand it, wait till it feels completed, release it, and bring in the new.
So, how important what you said that sometimes, like our limitations, they actually serve us, right, in a certain way. They bring us where we are right now. And it's the process of realizing that, yeah, you served me, thank you, but maybe I don't need you anymore to go where I want to go next. So you brought me till now, but now I have to let you go to go, even like to go further.
Yeah. Let's say you are working through a memory of being bullied as a child, and you find out that in some way it was serving you because it was teaching you to stand up for yourself. It was teaching you to, do the things you needed to do to believe in yourself. It's a hard lesson, but it was serving you in some way. And when you can understand that there was a purpose behind it, it's easier, and that you actually had, because as an adult coming for a session, a lot of time has passed since then, and that you actually have grown a lot and have learned how to speak up and speak your truth. Then it's easier when you understand the purpose of that experience to let it go.
Definitely. So, what are some of the biggest transformations that you have seen in people through this process?
Well, I can even just start with myself. I have changed my relationship with people in my family in a positive way, and also the way I feel about approaching certain situations personally. And it was a huge relief for me. Huge. I have seen people shift things financially for themselves. I've seen people, um, well, a lot of things I've seen that have been the main shifts I've seen have been in the area of relationships for me and for people that I've worked with. They've opened their relationships more. They've deepened their relationships more. They speak up more when they need to. They are not worried by things. They forgive. They move forward. They move on. They bring new experiences, new situations with in terms of relating with others, whether it's romantic, family, friends, and ultimately with yourself, right? A lot more inner peace and balance and understanding other people too. Um, those are some of the main things that I've seen with the process. Yeah.
What is your mission?
My mission? My mission is to be of service, to spread light, help make this world a better place by bringing love into it, bringing understanding, helping people understand themselves, helping people drop their judgments of themselves, helping people understand others, and also falling in love with the whole experience of living so that we can all work towards create and knowing that we're powerful, and that yeah, we really can create our life and our experiences, and we really but that we and just helping people go through that journey of giving themselves permission to do that.
Mhm. So, if you could inspire our audience with one new belief or habit today that it could really have an impact on their life, what this would be?
A new belief, a new habit, that all is well, and that everything that's happening in my life right now is happening for a purpose, and that I have all of the confidence, all of the energy, all of the support and resources that I need to go through this experience in an empowered and enlightened way. That's what's coming through right now. Knowing that it's important, that often we don't think we're supported, but we actually are. And to really practice that gratitude. Like, if there's one thing to do, if not every day, at least most days, is to give yourself at least 10 minutes each day to connect in with your center and state your intentions. And then think about, what do I need to do? Who do I need to be in order to achieve that, and work towards that? But all the while loving yourself enough to not have to judge yourself about where you're at right now.
Our platform is called Ascended Lightworkers. What ascension means to you?
Ascension. Well, ascension to me is clearing through all of the lower vibrations that keep us stuck in, and I'm not saying lower as any form of judgment, but ascension to me is clearing through these lower vibrations that keep us stuck in fear, in shame, in guilt, in unworthiness, and moving into these higher dimensions of love and joy and gratitude, and all of the potential that comes from when we're in that space. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's so much more to ascension that we have yet to experience. Ascension is a creative process. When you're in those energies, creativity will naturally flow. And I think that is the divine nature of the universe. Things are constantly growing, things are constantly expanding, things are constantly being created. And so can we, as we are moving through the different layers of ascension. And I think that it is a natural part of that experience to then want to share that knowledge with the reality around you.
Beautiful. Michelle, I want to thank you for coming today to our podcast, and thank you for being part of the Ascended Lightworkers platform. People can find you on your profile. I'm going to put the link below in order to book a Reiki session with you, or a Theta Healing session, and really dive into this light work, shadow work, all of it. And if you like this episode, you can like and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, my friends, keep spreading the light. Michelle, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.